So let me show you some of the different EQ types of the SSL X-EQ. And the first one, it's called classic symmetrical, which means we have an almost constant Q value here. It's pretty standard, easy and simple. The next one is more interesting. It's called classic asymmetrical, which means we have different Q settings for boosting and cutting. As you can see here in this picture, we have a more wider and more broad Q for boosting, and when we go below 0 for cutting, the Q narrows down a little bit. Even when we say we go a little bit more narrow for boosting, when we cut something, it narrows down even more, which is really interesting. Let's go back to a Q value of 2. And as you can see here, very nice and broad. And when we cut something, it narrows down a little bit. So the next ones are the proportional ones. And we have 3 different proportional modes. And let's stick with the third one. And that means the Q value depends on how much I cut or boost. So here, when I cut just a little bit, let's say around 1.8 dB, we have a very nice and broad Q value here. But when I boost more and more, also the Q value increases. And it's the same for cutting. When I cut just a little bit, we have a nice and broad Q. But when I cut more and more, the Q value also increases. And I use this a lot for guitars. So I use a very narrow Q. And when I cut something, let's say in the high mid or in the high frequencies, when I cut something just a little bit, the Q setting is not that extreme, but when I cut more and more, the Q narrows down even more. And this is great for surgical cuts for guitars for the high mid and high frequencies. Or let's say for a snare, when you want to cut some of the ping and ringing frequencies, you can search this one and then you cut just a little bit, or let's say a little bit more, and then the Q value also increases. And we have other types here, constant Q asymmetrical, which means the Q stays the same, but it's also asymmetrical, which means we have the wider Q for boosting, and we have the narrower Q for cutting, but the Q value stays the same no matter how much we boost or cut. And the next one is the constant Q asymmetrical but reversed, which means we have a narrower Q for boosting and a wider Q for cutting. And then we have a constant Q inverted and a constant Q new, which is a pretty standard and more modern one. And yeah, these are the different types for the bell setting. And of course we have different settings for the high and low pass filter. We have here a custom Q. We can change the settings. And here is the slope. We have 6 dB per octave, 12 dB per octave, 18, 24, 30, 36. And the cool thing here about this EQ is we can blend in the phase response. We can blend this out, we can blend this in. And let's say we have a slope of 6 or 12 dB. And then you can see we have a very mild phase response. And when we go a little bit more extreme, let's say 30 dB per octave, then we have a phase shift going on here. And this is interesting and good to know, especially let's say for the snare in the overheads. When you low pass your overheads or you high pass your overheads, and then it's good to know when this phase shift occurs. So, and that's it for this video. I hope you like it. If so, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and see you on the next one. Bye!